I never get this right. Hello.
Nope.
And I still got it wrong. Let's try that one. There we go. Man,
Hello.
it's tough.
It
All
is.
right.
It's always tough.
There's too many. There's a lot of buttons.
There are a couple of buttons. So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. It's been crazy.
It's always crazy, though.
But yeah.
I feel like that's just the norm.
The normal now. Yeah.
The normal now. Yeah.
So
hello, Miss Shirley.
Yeah, we've been busy today, working on block of the month, planning projects for the afternoon, working on our Surger event.
We've been planning, so lots of
so many things,
big ideas floating around here today.
Yeah. Some fun. We met with one of our reps today, and some fun stuff for maybe in the future.
Yeah. We have again some wonderful plans, though we're very good at planning.
We are very good at
always
planning. And then panic in the execution. Right?
Something to that effect.
2 P's, plan and panic.
No.
Or 2 peas in a pod.
That's okay. Yep. All right, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Oh, hi, Carolyn. Oh, she says it's
snowy.
Very snowy.
Well, it's like been super rainy here,
but it is 74 degrees.
It is warm.
Yeah.
But
it is
very,
not sunny.
Very rainy. Definitely not sunny.
No.
So.
And the camera's in a weird spot today.
So I don't know where to look. So if you think we look like we're staring at the wrong place, it's probably because we are.
We are. We don't know what we're doing today.
She got all fancy and put the camera somewhere else today, and
it's weird. It's in a different place. I can't look at that and look at this at the same time. So
that's a problem.
I gotta have two.
Hi, Mom.
I need eyes going in 2 different directions. So
yep.
I don't have that. But anyways, we're here today. We thought we would talk about Canvas Workspace, right?
Yes. So there are a lot of really great things that you can find in the cutting machines on their own, or buy or download for free online.
Yeah.
But sometimes you still just can't quite find whatever it is that you're looking for,
right.
and you want just that specific something. So, maybe it's the cut file for a specific embroidery design. Maybe it's a specific shape that you just couldn't find anywhere else. So Canvas Workspace is a free website or program, depending upon where you are using it at. They both take the same login. So if you created it originally and then downloaded it, it's the same login for both places. And you do have to log in every time you use it. So it's not, it's free, but you do have to actually have an account created to use it. So,
and you want to make sure that you remember that information.
Absolutely. So you don't want to have multiple workspace accounts because you will also have the ability to add designs to your account if, for instance, you purchased an accessory pack. So either just designs or like the foil starter kit or something like that.
I totally thought she was coming back here for bad news.
Oh, no, the wrap's fine. They did discontinue 9 though. So what we have is what we have.
Okay. All right.
They discontinued a color.
I think that's what she said.
Yeah. 9. Yeah.
Metallic.
One
that's
of the
lavender.
Golds. Oh. That's sad.
Well, they're coming out with a new purple. Yeah. So which kind of makes sense. But so we got
a new thread rack.
We trashed the store for a little bit there today.
We're really good at that. We got to do all that now before Jean comes home.
Absolutely. We have to have it looking all organized before he gets here, and we're running out of time for that too. Yeah. So, so we got a specialty thread rack in today that we ordered with Dime, and it's the large spools, the medleys, which are kind of a variegated, the fine lines, and the metallics. And they recently told us that they're releasing 4 new metallic colors. So not a big surprise that they are nixing something, but sad, of course, that they are, because of course I like the lavender color. That was a good color. But they do still have that carnation pink, which is in the same realm. But stop doing that.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So I interrupted our Canvas workspace.
Yeah, that's okay.
Chit chat.
Yep. So Canvas workspace, if you are going to look for designs that you either got for free, they're not technically free when you bought a package, but you know, or if you are looking for a project for free, there are actually a lot of those available. So I think it's a great system. One of the things that I think sets the ScanNCuts apart from everybody else's out there is they are a 100% standalone machine. If you want to use them and just cut something, you don't have to use a computer program. You don't have to have it connected to anything except for the power.
Right.
So you can pull in designs that you've purchased, made, whatever, on a USB. There's a USB port. But if you would like to, you can utilize the Canvas workspace and wirelessly send designs, or just create them and put them on your USB then.
Which is really
fun. So it does open up some more doors, but you are not required to use it, which is, again, I think a really nice feature. A lot of people get confused. They think they have to use it.
Yeah.
And you don't. It's just an added benefit that's there. A lot of the designs that are built in there are exactly the same built-ins that you have on the machine. So it's just kind of like multiple places that you can access those types of files.
All right.
So let's dig in.
Show. And so there is an online version.
Yep.
And then there is an online version that you download, which is no longer online. Now it's on your computer.
Right. So when you download that desktop version, it will go out and look online and pull in anything that's there. But it doesn't actively work. So it doesn't need to load every time you are putting something in there. So if you are, you know, out in the boonies, you don't have a great Wi-Fi connection and you want that to be
an option
that you're not suffering every time you click, you know, something, and it's and then it's, you know, that circle of death that's constantly going. You don't have to have that online option.
And it is both Mac and Windows friendly.
The download version, yes. And of course, the website is just a website.
Right. So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter where you're at. So what you're seeing up here is the web version. So I would, of course, initially tell you to go here. So when you are originally setting it up for the very first time, you're going to go to Canvas Workspace. If you just type in Canvas Workspace, it'll pop up. There's not like multiples of those different things out there. But it is periodbrother.com. And then you would, again, create that account. You do not, again, just throwing this out there, want to have more than one Canvas Workspace account. So whatever login name that you create and password that you set up, please write it down, put it with your ScanNCut or wherever you keep all that information, and make sure that you have that, because that's where all of your designs will be.
Right.
And if you are wirelessly transferring, you're going to register your ScanNCuts actually in there. So you want to make sure that you have access to all of those things. And once you register designs, you can't re-download them again under a different account. So you can only use those codes one time. And so if you lose that information, you also lose all of those designs. You can't re-access them later.
Yeah.
So
and we have Art Spira, which is a new app that we didn't have before. And a lot of people are downloading that, and some people are
that
doing
is specifically an app, not a program. So
but it has the same sign-in.
It does,
and it's important that you make
sure that you are not recreating again. You want to have all of those be under the same login.
Yes.
So
that's super important.
Yes, most definitely super important. So what you're seeing here is the screen that would pop up when you open Canvas Workspace online. So you log into whatever your server is that you use. I use Google. So this is, you know, I pop up my Google, I hit Canvas Workspace, I log in, and this is the home screen that you see there. These are all free projects that are available, and Brother adds to this every every month. They I don't know if it's weekly or what day they do that, but it looks like if you see that bar over here on the right-hand side, it looks like we're seeing half the designs. If I scroll down, it will repopulate and that bar starts hopping around. So it is constantly adding those to your screen when you are doing this. You do have a search that you can use like to filter. So you can search for, say, foil or rhinestones or whatever, Mother's Day, Easter, and it will filter out and only show you what ever is available for that specific topic. But there are a ton. This is, I think, a wonderful, wonderful option. These are super simple, but you're going to get the idea. If I click on the project, you'll see the cut file on the mat. So I can download that. I can put it on the mat. I can do kind of whatever, how do I want to play with it is those purple boxes that pop up there. Below the picture, there's actually a video of them creating that project. So
that's really nice.
It is. And it's, if the project has been up there for a really long time, it might be being created on a CM series machine. They have had a lot of those videos, but quite frankly, that's just going to give you a little bit more information than maybe what you would need, but it's still going to be good information. You just wouldn't have to set your blade, and that kind of thing. The Get Recipe is going to give you a picture of the design in addition to all of the cut files and things. So that just gives you all of the information, and it would download that to your computer. So, and versus opening it, it would download that. So again, we're on the website, so that's not opening a program up. That's just going to put it in my downloads folder, unless I choose it to go somewhere else. The all parts is everything. Recipe is telling me what to do with those parts. So that's basically what that is.
Very cool.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Okay.
And so when you see the little picture of the design on your space, are you guys frozen or is it my connection?
Unfortunately, I think it's yours because to the best, we've got 2 green check marks and everything appears to be moving on our end. So
it would be hard for us to know if we were frozen.
If we're frozen, we can't tell. So we're just going to keep going and hopefully you'll catch up.
Yes.
So apologies if that is the case, but
Cindy is having some issues too. So I'm not really sure well, let's just keep going and we'll see. We do appear to be connected up here. So
everything looks good.
Yeah. We'll just I just keep going, I guess. Yeah, we're still live. So according to my book, but that doesn't mean the internet
there is a lot of storms and things, so anything is possible that it could be.
Audrey says Facebook looks good, so
all right, and
perhaps
Mary's okay too. So
okay,
yeah, there's a lot of bad storms out, so it's certainly hopefully not coming towards you. So hopefully, hopefully it's not coming towards you. So ScanNCuts have been really hot lately.
Yeah,
there's been a lot out in Brother World. So they're putting out a lot of new things, Artspira being one of those things. And that app is available for tablets, phones, and you can, again, wirelessly send to your machine from that app. And the functionalities are just getting easier all the time. So they really are making things simple. The Canvas workspace, I'm going to quickly show how to create a file in the website version, and then I'm going to switch over to the desktop. There's a lot more details in the desktop version. So it makes more sense to spend more time there. The only thing that you have to do on the web version that you can't do on the download version is play with Disney.
Okay.
They will not, I can't imagine why,
right,
give you access to all of their Disney files on your computer.
The nerve.
So you do have to go log into the web version to get access to any of the Disney files that you've purchased access to, and those you have to go there to get to the downloads for that.
Okay.
You do have to use the web version for Disney access.
All right.
That is the one thing you absolutely have to go there for.
All right.
There are some things you have to use the desktop version for, but that is the one thing that you do have to do here. I'm just going to click on the Disney tab here, so you can see these are all pattern collections that you can purchase that are Disney files. So if you are a Disney fan, but you didn't want to spend the extra money to get the Disney version scan and cut, you can still buy Disney files and play with them on your scan and cut. And this is where you can look at all of them. So if we wanted to do paper crafting specifically or applique specifically, there are literally design packs that are designed for those specific type things. So if we wanted to see that, it says, hey, you can't do anything with that. You haven't bought that. And you're like, yeah, okay. But what I can do is I can click that show all button that's right below each of those. And what that does is not show me that screen.
There's your share this tab instead.
I'm just trying to see. That's why I'm looking over there. What am I seeing where in these? So when I click show all, then I can see what, if I did purchase that collection, what I would be getting in that. So this is the applique. So these would all be pieces that you could cut, so you could do the Mickey head. You could do the Mickey head with the mini bow, so that you could add all of those little pieces, so on and so forth. And then sewing machine applique, or if you are talented enough, you could create a applique file to go on that as well. So those would be those options.
And can they purchase these designs here, or do they need to come to see us?
They need to come see us, or actually they need to at least call us.
Yes.
So we do not have these on our website just because of the type of product that they are.
Yeah, there's still an activation.
There is
piece on the back.
So
numbers.
But we have pretty much all of them in stock. We have very few that we don't keep here. So if it is available to be purchased, we can probably give you that code immediately. And then you could go right immediately and download that. Then we can mail it to you or set it aside. You could pick up the physical card whenever worked for you. But they're codes that are in there that we could give you as soon as you purchase it. So,
awesome.
But yes, those are dealer purchases, not an online purchase. So you would need to give us a buzz for those. Good question. Thank you for bringing that up, because I always seem to forget that. So, all right, I'm going to go back to the home page. And if I want to create a file, I click this wonderful first tab here that says new. Wow. I know it's crazy. I want to create a new file. What am I going to do? So on this, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of buttons on the web version.
Okay.
We've got
that might be a good place for people to start, right? Not a lot of buttons.
It is. I mean, in some ways, this is very clean cut.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have the confusion that is sometimes found when you have too many options to click on.
Right.
So over on the left side of the screen are all of the different types of files. And these are not all going to be on yours when you first create a file. An account.
Okay.
Because we purchased the Rhinestone account. Account. Listen to me.
I know. Yeah.
When I loaded my Rhinestone number,
yes,
I got this tab here. Same thing happens on the download. I'll show you where that's at there. So some of them are available here. Some of them are only available on that downloaded thing. Some of the newer ones, they didn't put accessible on here. I'm not really sure
Nobody
why.
Probably knew you were a Rhinestone cowboy.
Yep, that's me. Anyway, there is embossing designs, and there are foiling designs. There's vinyl designs. There's lots of different designs that come with kits. Some of them, the original ones, are available here. But the newer ones, you do have to access on the downloaded version. So that is one of those weird things. To see what is available, we just click on one of those tabs, and all of those wonderful little things that are underneath there pop up. So logo basically are connected words for the most part. And they will go through holidays and family things and days of the week and stuff like that. And I really like these. They cut really nicely, and they cut as one file. And what that means is if you're cutting vinyl or paper or something, you don't have multiple individuals. It's not like the word fun and you have an F and you have a U and you have an N.
They're welded
one
together.
thing that is connected in some way, shape, or form. So, for instance, I can double click or drag and drop, and you can very clearly see where those are connected, but it's done in a way that's super easy to read.
Right.
So, if you try to weld things, something that's not necessarily super weldable, sometimes they aren't real legible.
True.
So, you always want to pay attention to what you're doing,
where the connection is
and where those connections are going to go. Because sometimes, if you put an I next to an L, you just have a really fat L.
Yeah.
Upper line, so it doesn't always work out quite as well. So this is the main access to all of the built-in files that are available here, or the ones that are in some of those beginning opening starter kits that you have that come with those. Up across the top are your main access tools. We have the ability to start a new page. We can take a image and trace that. So this does have the ability to do kind of an auto cut file.
Okay.
So we could bring in a base something and bring it in and it would outline it. So if we had a picture of a word that we liked the way that it was, even, on a shirt or something like that, we could bring it in, saved it from the website that we found it on. Or, I've done so many crazy things. My oldest was in a sorority and she was like, our house animal's a squirrel. And I'm like, a squirrel? Really? She's like, yep, with a really big fluffy tail. And I'm like, okay, are you sure it's not a chipmunk? She was like, no, that'd be too cute. Okay. So we looked up squirrel,
right,
and found an image that we liked that looked correct and saved that. And then it will literally find that outline of your image. So you can find all kinds of things out on the internet,
right,
and then bring it in here. And when you do that, when you click on it, it pops up and it says, hey, what do you want to do? And we have normal tracing, which is going to work for your more basic things. And if you have purchased that upgrade at one point way back in the day, I honestly don't know exactly what it does if you start new now, because it's been so long. There is also like a enhanced option there, but you have an outline, you have colors, you have all of those different things. It would take me forever to find images, and you guys would see a whole lot of stuff you probably don't really need to see on my computer if I was trying to find an image. But this is where you go. You choose a file here. You can actually scan something in off the Scan and Cut, and if you have linked them, you can bring it up right here, which is
very
really cool.
Yep.
And it would then take that outline and then you send it to your mat and it creates that cut line right there.
So a couple weeks ago when we were talking about scanning, if you scanned an image and you brought it in this way and then you saved it, would you be able to then put a name with it and put it in a different place? Because we were talking about organizing stuff.
So in this system, you can download it to your computer, or you can send it directly over to the Scan and Cut. So you can save to a folder, you can save to your USB.
Cool.
And in
so
this
makes it a little
instance,
easier.
you have the ability to actually name it. So when you're
'Cause we
here,
couldn't do that there.
correct, you can't name anything that you're saving in the machine. Just like in your embroidery machines, when you hit save, it the number and 0001, 0002, and whatever number you're on, that's the number that you get assigned. Where here, when we do hit that, and I'll show you when we get there, it does give you the ability to actually name said files. If you are downloading a built project from Brother, they are already named and it just downloads those files as is. You can go and rename them, of course,
right?
Which I usually do, because otherwise I'm like, what on earth is numbers, whatever?
Yeah,
I have no idea what that is. But it is pretty straightforward. And if I had planned, I would have put something right where I knew where I could grab it, but I'm sorry I didn't do that. So you would just pick up a file, and then if you have multiple colors, you can actually tell it, I only want you to see 2 colors because that's way too crazy, and all of that. And then it would pop up on screen. You can preview what your cut file would look like here, and then you click OK, and it shows up on screen. Once you have that, you do have the ability to resize. You have the ability to rotate. and all of those wonderful things. There is a wonderful undo button. So if you went, oh, I didn't mean to do that,
I wanted to do.
we can certainly undo that. Under your edit tools here, you do have lots of different things. If you notice, they're currently mostly grayed out. The reason being is, if you notice, I don't have anything actually selected on my mat. And strangely, it wants you to have something selected so it knows what you want to edit. So you have to select that before all of those buttons will lighten up and start giving you options. So mirror image, we can flip upside down, which is kind of weird. Or we can't see, it unselected it, or we can do that traditional flip. That traditional flip is something that you'll probably want to be really familiar with, because you will need that for vinyls and things like that, or traditional applique, depending upon what it is that you're cutting. So there's definitely a lot of reasons to know how to do that mirror image. So your editing tools gives you the ability to do those flips. You can change the order things are cut in, sort of. I've never had a lot of success with that, I'm not gonna lie. I put things in order and I still feel like that scan and cut just kind of does whatever it wants to do. So, but that is there. The overlap down here does give you the ability to do that welding on your own. So if you had brought in an F and then a U and then an N, and you kind of rotated them all
so they were touching
to where you wanted them, they were overlapping, and then you wanted it to become one thing, you could select all of them and use the overlap tools.
That's
so
good.
That first one right there is that welding tool. That's going to be your most commonly used piece. You're going to take out all of that overlapping and work that together. So it just kind of depends on what it is that you're looking for. The different circle, triangle descriptions here, this is dividing them, makes perfect sense. Removing the overlap, but they're still two separate files. So you just don't have two pieces of whatever on top of one another, so you aren't layering up. That's what removing the actual overlap means in that instance. Where welding creates one file, you would still have two files in removing an overlap. So those are the two you're probably going to use the most if you're into this kind of thing. And then subtracting something out is also certainly very easy from there. So that is the basics there. We do have the ability to copy paste all of those traditional editing tools, and we can create an offset line. So I like this one, especially if I'm using paper or something. And if you're trying to make two of something and you want it to be framed, so you need just that little bit of a shadow of a secondary color behind it or something like that, you can create an offset line. You can have that going out. You want to leave your original file, you can tell it how your corners are, all of those wonderful things. And I'm just not going to change anything for the moment. And then it basically gives me a secondary line. So I have, it doesn't always work if you just make it bigger. So having an offset line gives you that, where if you just make it bigger, these middle sections aren't going to line up like you want them to. But this works. So if you're looking for that little, they call it matting. If you're thinking about it from a photos perspective and you want that little bit of oomph underneath something, that's a perfect way to do that.
Wouldn't that be a nice feature in our embroidery software?
It would be so nice. I just need that little edge, you know? So I really love the offset line. This is actually a feature that is built into the machines themselves. On the object edit page, you can actually offset a line right in the machine, but it's sometimes easier to do on a large computer screen. So these are the base editing tools. Again, they're base, but for the most part, they're what we need to do. And from here, I can now send to my computer, where I can save it in a file or send it right to a USB that I'm going to move to whatever. Or I can send it right to my USB.
Oh, scan and cut.
That's, see, you're putting words in my mouth. I can send it right to the machine if I'm ready to cut. I usually get asked at this point, well, which one do you do? So for all of you at home wondering, well, what one do I do? It depends on if I'm going to be cutting multiple files or if I'm going to be cutting one. If I have multiple things that I need to cut, I group, if I've got like 10 different files, because I can't send 10 different files over.
Right.
I can only send whatever that one active one is.
Sure.
And going back and forth between
That just takes too much time, right?
That's actually defeating the purpose.
Right.
So I will send everything to my USB stick, and then I have everything on there, and then I just pull up the files as I need them. If I'm just doing one, wireless is totally the way to go, and then it's done. It's there. It's piece of cake. So that's generally how I make that decision. Wireless works flawlessly once it's picked up. The only thing that you have to be there is on the same Wi-Fi signal. So I actually have 2 different ones in my house.
Make sure.
So you do have to. You all right?
It's okay.
All good. Just checking. So the other tabs that are up here is, of course, your view. You can change the zoom and what type of mat, if you're seeing the cut lines, the drawing lines, all of those different things. In this case, we purchased the rhinestone kit. So sad. I'm not sure where they're going with that, but that's been discontinued. So I'm not sure if that's just going to somewhere going to be installed in like maybe an option.
Right.
Or if they're just, I don't know what they're doing, but we have the tools because we bought the kit. So when you install that card, it automatically installs these, which means that I can insert a rhinestone. I can go through the rhinestone wizard, and I also can say, how many rhinestones was that I had on there? So how many do I need to buy to finish this project? I really love that count thing. Really my nice. Purchase software doesn't have a count.
That's weird.
So, and if you bring in another thing, it doesn't know they're rhinestones. So you can't just insert a pattern that you're trying to cut rhinestones. It doesn't know they're rhinestones. Right. So it doesn't count them as rhinestones. So you can't just bring something else in here. But you do have a rhinestone wizard, and you can say, okay, well, what is it that you want to do? And if you go, yeah, I just would like you to fill that. Let's go this one. What the heck? It will think, and then it will fill that with rhinestones with as close possibility as it can. So if you have purchased that rhinestone tool, you would have that under premium. And even though we've purchased a whole bunch of kits, that's the only thing that's ever shown up under premium. So if you don't have the rhinestone kit, you won't have anything there. I don't think you even have the premium tab. So that is how you can create in all of those wonderful things. Once you are ready to go, you're like, I got everything I need. We come over to our download tab, which is this big guy over here on the left. And when we click that, oh, good. We see our options. And because I am linked to our scan and cut, it is here. I can send. If you are not wirelessly connected, then that will be grayed out. And you would only be able to download to your PC. It is a FCM file. That is, I guess, the catch, if you will. So you can't choose an SVG here. Does that matter if you're cutting on a scan and cut?
No.
Nope, not at all, because of course our scan and cuts read an FCM file. That's like the native file for that. If you're trying to use this for other types of cutting machines or for a different purpose, then unless you've got something to transfer that into another, it doesn't work because other machines don't read an FCM. So once I have that, I can send that. It will download that, and then I can go there and move it to wherever my USB. You can't see across the bottom of my screen. It just downloaded that. So it's in my downloads folder, which I don't think it will show you if I pop up. Yep. View tab. Nope. All right. All right. Anyway, that's it. It goes to the downloads folder, and then you can copy that to your. So I generally put it on my computer, even if I am sending it over to wirelessly. Because what if I need to edit that later on, or what if I want to play with that some? I want to make sure that
you have access.
I have access to it, and I don't have to start all over again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I just find that to be easier. I usually download it, and you'll notice my screen didn't disappear, so then I can wirelessly send it at the same time. So that's what I generally will do, and it gives me the ability to have that backup file and save it. So that's my general plan, if you will.
Seems like a good plan.
So that is the online version. The only other things to point out is up at the top, you have your login name and it's got like the head and shoulders. So this is your account information. When you click on the account information, that gives you, when you click on the account information, that gives you the ability to, again, add those codes, add a machine, change your personal information, all of the standard account stuff, if you will. So that is where that's located here. I will touch base on that on the download version as well. I just wanted to point out that's where it's at here.
Okay.
So I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to try to switch screens. Go here and go here. And I want that one. Yay! It's always such a joy when things work. So that's also, she says she also saves her pattern in the machine. You certainly can do that. At some point, you're going to run out of memory in there. So I don't, unless it's something that I'm going to be cutting multiple times, I don't usually save it in my machine. Or unless I've created it at the machine, and that's when I've saved it to then pull it back up. So that is kind of a hit or miss for me. But if I'm using it or know I'm going to be using it multiple times, I will certainly do that. Not saying that's not a great idea. By all means, there's nothing wrong with that by any stretch. I just, because of memory things, you guys don't want to see the file that I have for cut files. It's insane. It's kind of scary. I even get scared when I open it sometimes. It's a very overwhelming,
it's a big file.
There's so many folders. It's just like, what am I looking for again? And how am I going to ever find it in here?
Right.
So, when I'm bored and I'm watching TV, sometimes I'll sort, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
So this is the screen that you will see when you open the downloaded version. I believe the Mac looks pretty close to the same of this. Your top things are going to be Mac-ish versus Window-ish, but the rest, I think it looks pretty close to the same. The concepts are going to be the same regardless. So
you have a few more boxes.
You do have a few more boxes. So under File, we have the Save As, Import from your computer, import from your machine, whether it's an FCM or whether it is a scanned image, and Export. So the whole Save As thing, I don't really use much because it doesn't really save in a format that's super, at least it never used to. Maybe we should try that today and see what's happened. So in general, I'm exporting, and you can export, and it will give you the option again, where I want to go to. So we'll come back to that when we have something on the screen. Editing, we have a little bit more that we can play with here than we had before. One of the things we have is fit to path, which is really nice. We also have weeding boxes. We've got converting shapes and things like that. So you have a little bit, again, more tools in the downloaded version, which if you think about it, makes a little bit of sense. They could put more in here because they don't have to be using all the bandwidth for all of the different things that you're doing. So it kind of makes sense. All of the top stuff is the same, just as what you normally have. What we do have is a very easy way to look at your layers, which is super important when you're cutting.
Yeah.
If any of you took my paper sculpture boo, half the class was actually using Canvas Workspace to sort all of that out, and learning how you can make that visually make sense, and saving your files to make sense, and how to do that. So, if you've got 8 layers of something that are going to go on top of one another, how you can layer that and color that and make that work for you and see it cleanly.
That makes sense.
Because without being able to see layers, it can be very difficult. It can look like a big black box.
Sure.
And solid black box if it's a filled in box, which means you can't see anything, which is no fun. And
if you make your screen bigger, I wonder if they can see the drop box better.
Let's take a peek.
There we go. Now go over to your edit. There we go. They couldn't, for whatever reason, it was cutting that off.
So those again are all of your standard editing tools. And then you've got resizing, which is a nice, easy thing here. Your flips, your alignments, processing your overlaps, which again are those welding and removing of parts of cut lines. And then again, some new things that we have are those fit to path and those things there. Changing across the top, we've got to display things again. You want your grid? What do you want your grid to do? Do you want it to snap to the grid? How do you want all those things to work, and what do you want to be seeing? Premium tiling, I haven't used that a whole lot. I've played with it a little bit. I haven't actively used it. I've played with it. Let's go that route. And then the help. So help is actually not even just all help, but your account settings and information there as well. So this is an important, don't only go here if you actually need help, because this has got other things in here too. One of the things is checking for an update. So if there's an update in the software, you should check for that. I feel like it tells you when you open it, you can turn on an automatic check. You can also check for your scan and cut to be updated, which is also something that you want to make sure that you're always running the most current software. We actually had a customer come in a couple of weeks ago, and her mats weren't reading. Well, one specific mat wasn't reading. And the problem ended up being she was running too old of software for it to recognize that mat. So sometimes it's that simple, but just throwing that out there. So you should regularly update that as much as you possibly can. So check and make sure that you have that capability. But again, account settings are important.
Yep.
So I'm going to click on that, and you're not going to be able to see any of that. And I don't get a tab that pops up. So let's see.
Go back to
StreamYard.
Yep. That one. Yep. And no, we want that one. And yep, present. And it's a window, right?
Yeah, I'm in the wrong one.
Yeah, there you go.
This one.
Yep.
All right. So this is okay.
Yep.
I'm like, what happened? This is the account settings screen. So these are super important to know what to do where. The first one here is going to be, of course, your login, password, personal information. You should make sure you know what's in there and keep that up to date. That's pretty obvious. We're not going to talk about that. The one on the right top is registering your scan and cut to enable the data transfer. So this is actually really straightforward. But you do really need to do that if you want your machine to send things back and forth. And if you are lucky enough to have one of the 300 series and you sew on a Luminaire, you will also register your Luminaire and your connection, my connection feature at this point, like right through this box here. So all of that is going to happen here. So I just wanted to make sure that we pointed that out. The bottom two are those codes that we've talked about. So we've got collections, which we looked at, like the Disney ones.
Yep.
Specifically, you can't do those here, but there's things like that. There's a whole bunch of other ones. The pattern collections are patterns that you decided I want to add that pattern set to like my repertoire of embroidery buying a design. Yep, exactly. The one on the right bottom are the premium functions. Those are going to be your foil kit, your vinyl kits.
This was different wasn't it? The last time the vinyl.
So the problem is that they look the same.
Right.
So they they were both patterned cards. So what we're talking about is if you bought one of the vinyl kits when the vinyl kits came out, if you bought the vinyl kit, it came with a card, the vinyl holder, and the vinyl blade.
Yes.
If you bought the Disney vinyl kit, you got all three of those things plus an additional card of Disney designs. And
you had to go two different places.
What you're doing is you're loading basically the designs.
Yeah.
So your head says, I'm going to go to pattern collection and load my designs.
Right.
And it would tell you that one of those cards wouldn't work. And you're like, what's going on? So you had to actually load the original vinyl card, even though there was designs in it.
Yep.
You were activating the premium function of vinyl cutting because it gave you weeding boxes and all of these. It actually was a premium function. So that one had to be activated under premium function. And the Disney card was activated under pattern collection.
Yep.
And we got more phone calls about that.
Yeah.
And if it makes you guys feel any better, I did it wrong. I called brother and I'm like, what on earth is going on? Because this doesn't work.
Right.
And they were like, you got to do that. It took a couple phone calls on their end to be able to answer that question as well. So the premium kits. So if you're buying a kit that gives you calligraphy, paper piercing, the rhinestone, all of those, that's going to go under premium function.
Yeah.
Any of the design packs are going to go under pattern collection. And that's what those are. So I'm not seeing any questions pop up. So I'm going to go back to the other screen and give me just a second because I have to go click a whole bunch of buttons to make that happen. So sorry about that. Window, this guy.
There we go.
Okay, so we are back on the desktop version screen. So we exited out of our account settings and we're back on this screen. So this is what would happen. Basically, it just took a couple extra clicks on my end to make that work. So on the left side of the screen, we've got a lot of different ways that we can pull in different things. Some of these all the way to the left will look a little bit familiar. There was a spade actually in that image tracing on the online version. It looks a little bit different here, but it's still a spade and it still does image tracing. So the same thing we could do there, we can do here. And as you see, I have, it shows what you can turn one thing into, which is kind of helpful because it gives you an actual visual of what's going on there. If we are just bringing in an SVG that you've purchased or created or your friend gave you or whatever from your computer, you can click on import from your computer right here. It is also located under the file tab, but you can click right here and bring in an SVG and it'll plop it right on your mat. Super easy, nice and straightforward. If you want to add text, so we had text online on the web version. What those were pretty much the built-ins that were in the machine. What I love about this one is that it pulls from whatever you have in your computer.
TrueType.
TrueType fonts have now become added in as fonts that you can use, which if you are an embroidery digitizer and you know about TrueType fonts, you know that they don't all work.
Right.
So there are fonts that just because you can does not mean you should stitch. Right. When it comes to cut files, there's not a lot. There's a few, but there's not a lot that you can't use and cut. And so that is why I have so many fonts, is because of cut files. I have certainly created my fair share of digitized embroidery fonts, but most of them have been used in cut files.
The first TrueType font that I tried to cut was before I owned a ScanNCut. And I chose the Harry Potter letters, which, as you know, were not
the lightning bolts,
and they were not welded together.
No, they were not.
And I did it out of fabric.
Oh.
So I was like, well, I probably still have a pile of those letters someplace because I was like, this was dumb.
I have that font.
Yeah, it'll take me forever to do this. If I had been smart, I would have done e-transfer vinyl.
Exactly. So if we tap on the T and then click anywhere on your mat, you get a cursor and you can type in whatever it is that you want to actually
Right.
to do. And then when you are all done, you hit enter and you get what I call the handles
Yeah.
that you can then start playing. So I can make them bigger. I can make them 100%. That, you know, I can rotate them. I can do all kinds of things. But if you notice up at the top, I have, maybe you can't see what I can see. Oh,
Yep.
yes, you can. Okay. So these are the built-in pieces. And then it starts going into all of my fonts, which we're still in B's. Oh, wait, now we're in C's. So as you can tell, I have a whole lot. I'm going to try to go super fast and see if I can find.
You just passed it.
I don't see it. It's there somewhere, but I don't know where it's at. It might be called something else. It probably has letters in front of it. Huh. I don't know what it's called. I have it, but it's not popping up. Anyway, when you change a font, it will automatically change your font on screen. And then you can, again, play with that. So I do have the lightning bolt font. I just don't know where the heck I ended up putting it. I'm sure I installed it on this computer when I got it new a year ago, but maybe I didn't. I mean, anything's possible.
Right.
Anything's possible. So I have the ability to move it around on my mat, so I can put multiple cut files on the mat at the same time. And I can copy and paste. I can do all of those kinds of things. I can also add other things as well. So all I had to do was come over to the left side of my screen and click, and I got all of those tools back up. And I have my built-in shapes. So these would look familiar if we had gone into that. Here's that word fun that I had before. So those are all there. Exact same one that we had before. There's that one. We can do all kinds of things that we can add, so on and so forth, shapes, all this kind of stuff. You can change the colors, but it doesn't do a whole lot unless you are needing to see colors for, I need to cut this out of this color paper, so on and so forth. But when it comes up in your machine, it's not going to be orange and it's not going to be whatever that. But you can do that if you are visually trying to see it here. So again, if you're working with layers and they're on top of one another,
it's helpful to
you can change the
color,
color so that you can see what it would look like.
Makes sense.
When you cut it out of orange paper or orange vinyl or whatever that happens to be, that it looks like you're expecting it to look.
Right.
So again, if I have something and I am adding in an offset line, I can take and look at my layers. Let's see.
It's at the very top and there's shape.
Yep. I can so I'm over on the right side of the screen now. I can turn my visibility off. So if I'm like, okay, I'm really confused. What am I trying to look at here? I can turn that on and off. I can turn off the things that I'm not actively working with, which is sometimes super helpful.
Right. Very helpful.
All right. Or I can select that. And then I can go, okay, I need that color to be this. And I want to fill that in with, well, we keep saying orange. So let's just choose orange. So that is orange. And now I want to fill in my word fun. So I select that and I choose whatever color. Let's go with turquoise. And wait a minute, I can't see it.
Darn.
So I can also arrange my order and then I can see what that would look like. So I can visually see exactly what's going to happen before I cut anything.
Right.
Which for me anyways, I like to see that.
Yeah, it's so much more
Is that
helpful.
really what I was looking for? Well, yeah, actually that's exactly what I was looking for.
Right.
So I can make sure it's what I want to do. One of the things that I really like about this, so when we have our layers visually being seen and unseen, if I were to export these files now, it's not going to export anything that's not being seen. So if I have let's go back to that Boo class that had basically 12 by 12 sheets of 7 different layers of things. And I needed them all to be separate cut files because, of course, I couldn't dump them all on the mat at the same time.
Right.
And if I did, I'd have no idea which one I needed because I couldn't tell.
Right.
So I could turn them all off and then look at one at a time and save each individual file and know exactly what I was looking at.
That makes a lot of sense.
And save each one. And here, unlike everywhere else where they save them for you and then you would go in there, here when I export, it says, hey, by the way, I know you guys can't see this part, but it pops up with a warning that says you've got hidden items and they're not going to be saved. Well, fortunately for me, that's exactly what I wanted. But it would be your hint of stop and go back and turn them on if that's not what you meant to do.
Right.
And then you have multiple options. You have export an FCM file, which that is literally save it to your computer.
Right.
You have transfer via the internet. That's your wireless connection option. And then you have a third, which is you could actually plug a cord in and connect a direct connect transfer. And so if I have that export FCM, this is your traditional save box that pops up and gives you the ability to name it whatever you want, save it wherever you want. So I could create a fun folder that says orange background, fun word, blue.
Yeah.
And I generally, in this instance, would name it whatever color I wanted it to be cut in.
Yeah.
So that it tells me, oh, I want that orange paper.
Yes.
Because when you, again, get to the scan and cut and your design is, yay big.
It's hard to tell.
You're like, what was I going to do with that again?
Right.
So, or if you do have 7 layers, which color was that supposed to be cut in? And if you put white in or blue or orange or black or whatever in the title of your file, you know what color to grab.
Right. It does make it a lot easier.
Super, super helpful. So that's kind of how I make all of this work. So again, you go to file and export and it would do that. I can then come back over to my screen and I can turn those off. I can turn on something else. If I want to add a color, I can. And I can go through my mat in that manner. If I want them all to be one file, I can send them all together.
Sure.
It's whatever is visually on screen is going to be what is sending. So this layer feature, which is again, reached by tapping this diamond with the little arrow pieces over here on the right, so functional. And we didn't have that online in that functionality.
Right.
So I love this. And this is something that we use in classes a lot. And I teach when we're, in how, okay, this is how you want to organize this, because it helps you visually. And if you know what you're going to do before you do it, it makes it, when you sit down in front of the machine, makes so much more sense. Other things that you have on the right side of the screen, you've got your properties box. So I'm just going to grab one file. So when you grab it, it shows you that if you do have it filled in, again, that's not necessarily going to change anything on the cut. The cut file is still just the outside line,
right?
But it does show you whatever you have. If you want that to be drawn, there's a drop-down menu there. You can send it as a drawing file, and it will know and tell you, this is drawing. You don't want, that's what you're looking. Paper piercing is also an option, so it does create a piercing file, which would be multiple punctures versus a whole line. So we've got lots of different options that you can pick here that would change, how it would be, and it changes it up across the top of the screen. So that is the properties tab. There are a ton more things that you can do here. Your path is also something, again, that you can do, which is really neat in here. We talked about being able to only access some files from this desktop version. I'm going to bounce to the other side of the screen again. On the left, you see the rhinestone here where my mouse is. If I click on that, those are my rhinestone designs that come with my kit. The next one down, when I click on that one, these are my line embossing tools. This one, that's going to have all my region embossing. So the area fills of that. This one is foiling. So when you buy the foiling kit, notice that these did not show up online.
Right.
So you've got some that you can only access here. One of those that you can only access here are the roll feeder designs. You have to use the. So when I called and asked, I'm like, so why on earth? Because that was like brand new when this came out. I'm like, why can't I? They were like, there's not enough memory in the. I was like, come on, really? But that was the line they gave me. And then the next guy here is the paper piercing. So again, these are a bunch of little dots. If you are wondering what the heck is this paper piercing thing that she keeps talking about, if I yeah, and I can't make those bigger, so let's not use that one. No, is there a bigger one? Nope. So I don't know if you guys can tell, there are
what if you grab your screen and make it bigger? Sometimes you
might
can
be
do
able
that.
to do that.
No.
Nope, not in here.
Okay.
This is basically a whole bunch of little dots, which is why you don't see a really dark line. And I'm trying to find, but the reason I can't make them bigger is because, of course, if I made it bigger, I'd have big holes, and that does, of course, doesn't work. Same thing happens with rhinestone designs. Is
You can't really,
you can't really make those bigger either.
Draw it the size that
you got to draw it the size you want. Absolutely. And then the last one all the way down at the bottom are my vinyl designs. The reason that we have a vinyl blade, for any of you who are wondering, okay, well, why can't I just use a regular one? These are super detailed designs. So if you see those tiny little circles and the tiny thin lines, the vinyl blade was designed for those really intricate cuts where your auto blade would maybe not make that curve quite as cleanly.
The tip is much
the
finer.
tip is much, much finer. So that is why you got all of those beautiful, really thin and whatnot designs that came with that as well. So that is Canvas Workspace in a really quick nutshell. I'm talking as fast as I could without trying to not be clear. And there's still things that I didn't say, but you kind of got the idea. All of your access designs and editing, bringing things in. I do have the ability to, of course, draw, which we didn't talk about a lot, but I do have the ability to literally create from scratch as well. We have that online as well. We just didn't really talk about that. And I can add rhinestones by just clicking and saying, I want rhinestones to be here. So I do have those tools available to me as well. So there's a lot that this free program does. If this isn't enough for you, we do have a program that you can purchase that I use most of the time when I'm creating things for class. I generally use that because there's a lot more. Right. I can get more specifically in there. I can actually adjust the sizes of the rhinestone, the actual, what 3SS, 5SS, right. 10S, all of those, the different rhinestone size, actual sizes,
and since we kind of ran out of time here, maybe next week we can do the craft and cut
we can software. Do that. Sure.
So we can kind of take this one step further and show you guys more about how you can
absolutely
do some editing.
And maybe in addition to that, we can pop open like Dime or Florian or something and show how you can export artwork.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a base file out of there.
Yes, that sounds like a good
maybe
plan.
We can do that next week.
So we'll continue on our little scan and cut venture next week
and
software and
how those work together.
Yeah,
so,
and talk more about that.
So
ta-da!
Hello. So I know I threw out a whole lot of stuff there. And I know I was talking kind of fast, but I also knew I was going to run out of time before I ran out of things to say. So I hope you there wasn't a lot of questions. So hopefully that meant I was making sense as I went. But
yeah. And
I use all of these things. And so there is a
free download.
Yep, there is a download that kind of tells you this is what you want to do here and this is what you want to do there. Yeah, see when you click save, that's what it does.
Goes to that file. Yeah.
It's this weird thing. So you do want to use that export. Definitely.
Maybe someday they'll
haven't
change
figured
that.
out what that's going to do for you. So you definitely want to use the export, but we'll pick up and we'll talk about Craft and Cut. I know a lot of you have already purchased Craft and Cut.
Mhm.
I've done a class in store where, click along with me kind of
Mhm.
class with that many times in the past. It's been a hot second with COVID since we've done that. So
Yeah.
we can run through some of that and answer some questions. And again, hopefully this is not confusing.
Right.
I hope I didn't go too fast, but
They can pause. They can go back.
You can pause and go back. And there is, as we said, Sarah linked, there's a download available on our website that is a Canvas workspace, kind of like a walkthrough that kind of talks about a lot of what I said. There are pictures in there and everything. It's a PDF download and it's free. So if you are looking for a little bit more and you're like, okay, that was a lot. Let me read through that again. You can download that. And it's, I think it's a fairly decent cheat. What'd you call it? Cheat sheet. And, but it'll walk you through, I think, fairly well. So, and always, as always, feel free to call and ask. So thanks for joining.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you guys
Hopefully
next time.
that was fun. Bye.
Bye.